mom's BFF. She's still a sex symbol sitting in the front seat.
Where is from? There you go.
Michigan. And I would first like to thank everybody in here who has anything to do with education, with voting, with children. My fake one is off too. Children, to me, I don't know. I just, thank you.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to ask you just 3-4 quick questions, and then we'll let you do your reading. So first question, it's been a minute since you've been here last time. Just tell us what you've been up to the last couple years.
Well, I do the same thing all the time. I'm writing a screen adaptation of my last book, which is called, I forgot. I almost forgot about you. And Viola Davis is starring in it. Who did Girl Trip, of which I had a 0.5 of a 100th of a second non-speaking role in it, for which I've been nominated for an Academy Award. And I have 250 pages of a new novel, which I will read from.
Wow.
It's called It's Not All Downhill From Here.
Okay, let me ask you this. There's so much turmoil in our country, especially over the last 18 months. Perhaps more than any other time in history. What's your take on society right now?
Oh, come on. If he was walking across the street, I'd run him over. I take that back. I think that democracy is in trouble. Donald Trump is destroying this country, and everything that we stand for, and everything that Barack Obama did, he has done his best to undo. He is, I just hope Mr. Mueller steps on it. That's all I can say. And I hope that everybody that you know, including everybody in this room, votes in midterm elections. This is very scary. I have to take days off from not watching the news. And it's mostly what I tweet about. This is unheard of, what he's doing. And he's a malignant narcissist. And I just hope that we vote so that Supreme Court justice does not get in. I hope that young people are going to change a lot of this. Those Parkland kids, the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, Blavity, everything. There's a whole lot of underground things going on. And I think that to some extent, I think, this isn't a blessing, but it's a wake-up call. What this man is doing to this country. And it's very scary to me. But, God don't like ugly. And he's going down. He's going down.
So Chimes has changed since you were first an author with Amazon and self-publishing and blogging and all these innovations. Is that helpful? How does your approach to being an author change or not change because of all that? Then I have a follow-up quick question.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think that because of Amazon, that has a lot to do with why a lot of the bookstores closed. Our lives have changed because you can do everything almost online. Even find a I don't know. I think that on some levels we are on information overload, and sometimes it's hard to process all of this and put it in perspective. But I don't know. I think that what you do with information, just like what you do with power, determines how healthy we are. And I think even hearing some of what we heard here about what people are doing, people don't realize that everybody's not on television, everybody's not on the bestsellers list who are doing good things. And It's the people that don't get the attention for the most part. You know, just hearing about the little kids getting breakfast and lunch, that's a big deal.
Right.
The kids go to school hungry, they can't think. You know, that's a major deal. And all I know is that everything is cumulative. So, you know, this person does it, and we are seeing it's a lot of changes that are going to happen as a result of all of this that's happened in the past year and a half. A lot of times, people are waking up, and I am grateful.
So let me ask one follow-up.
We get to disseminate the information better. That's what I can say about the internet.
So let me ask this. It's a two-part. When you think about the black bookstores that are kind of declining in this country and a few more are starting to pop up, which is great, what can you as authors do to help promote black bookstores? And what can black bookstores do to help you as authors be more successful? It's kind of a two-part.
Excuse me. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I have always supported African American bookstores. And a lot of authors do, but it you know, it costs money to be able to travel.
Yeah.
And a lot of bookstores can't afford to do that. And back in the day, you know, I told my publisher that every city where there was a black bookstore that they sent me to, I had to go to the bookstore. And I mean, I had a reputation for it. To put myself on any pedestal, but there are a lot of African American writers out here who, even to this right now, can't get a book tour.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There are. I mean, I could sit here all night and talk about this, but for the most part, what we have to be able to do, and there are a lot of young people who are starting these new. There's a crop of new African American bookstores that have been popping up because they know there's a dearth, and it's been destroyed not just by the internet, but basically from lack of support in our communities. But now you have a lot of young people who are also reading more, and you know, I really do like. A lot of us do like to spend our money black whenever we can, because that's the only way businesses, including black bookstores, stay alive. And not to say that other people don't support them, but it's up to us. It really is.
So before she reads, we want to give her a gift. Are we okay on that second one? So I'm gonna have the author, Milton, come up, and Marshall come on up. So
Oh, is it on a poster?
it ain't a poster. This is for real. This ain't a poster. Come on up. Let's give it up for Milton Boland and Marshall. Milton said it's an original. So describe it real quick, Milton.
Well, based on your track record and being a champion for literacy, but you also have increased the historical value of the word for African Americans. So we thought that this would be fitting, coming from underground books, to be presented to you. Kinfolk, exhale.
That's Harriet Tubman in there.
All right.
Wait, stay right there. Let her hold it. Get the photo. Get the photo.
Oh, and Mr. Educator.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, you're leaving?
I can go. I'll go.
No, but no. This is weird. Oh. Thank you, everybody. No, because I have on this dress. I just thought I was late. Where's my glasses? Okay, so I'm gonna read, I'm working on a new book, and it's called, It's Not All Downhill From Here. So, I have to kind of read, I brought two things to read, but I think I'm not gonna read the second one, even though I think it's kind of funnier, but this book is about, I cover a lot of things in this novel, but mostly I'm writing about aging, probably because my Social Security check. And, you know, I believe there's a thing called ageism, just like sexism and racism and all that. So I'm writing a book, chock full of lies that I hope will tell the truth, or many truths. But I deal with mental illness, all kinds of stuff. And so this is just the opening. I have about 250 pages. And there may be a few words in here that are choice, and I will try to skip over them unless they're really bad, because it's hard for me to use certain words in front of a minister. And a child. But depending on the word, it might slip out. Anyway. And there was a Lolo up there. I got my main character, her name is Loretha Curry. I'm a Warriors fan, I won't lie. I don't want another surprise party. Which is just one reason why a few weeks ago while walking B.B. King to the dog park, when my husband called and asked what I wanted to do for my birthday this year, even though I knew he had something up his sleeve, I politely said, "Baby, let's try to figure out how to get our second win." At first, Carl chuckled like he was a soprano or something, and then he said, "Well, we need a vote." I chuckled right back, even though I was serious as a heart attack. "Don't you worry, Miss Lowe, I've got you covered." But I knew he didn't really get my drift. All I meant was, since we both have more days behind us than we have ahead of us, how about we try to figure out what more we can do to pump up the volumes to increase our chances of sliding into home? It's not that our life is boring. Well, maybe it is a little. We don't do very many things that generate much in the way of excitement, but I still love him more than my Twizzlers. Carl is retired. This is a little weird. Carl is a retired contractor who has refused to retire. And after 30 years of spending almost every weekend selling hair and beauty products in 3 stores too many, I don't exactly qualify as a thrill a minute myself. After we get inside the dog park, I released B.B. King's leash, but he just stood there shivering, as if he was waiting to be noticed or invited to participate in some activity that didn't require him to run or jump. In human years, he and I will soon be the same age, 68. His whiskers and eyebrows are peppered with gray, but unlike me, B.B. King doesn't dye his hair. He is our 3rd German Shepherd, and I don't even want to think about how long before he doesn't want to or can't hop in the back seat of my Bobo station wagon that I will drive until, like me, it stops running. As I sat on the green metal bench and watched him sniff and warm up to a friendly chocolate poodle, I was hoping and praying I wasn't going to have to live through yet another lackluster party where nobody even thinks about dancing until they hear a song you have to be damn near almost to remember, which I suppose now includes me. But if you call doing a cha-cha-cha in flats or espadrilles or 2-inch wedges with rubber soles to a beat that they all hear differently dancing, since they really do think they're getting jiggy with it, I beg to differ. I watch music videos on YouTube too, which is when I find myself rocking these future size 12 hips, swinging and swaying my shoulders and popping my fingers all at the same time. to the likes of Beyonce singing Single Ladies or Uptown Funk by that little cutie Bruno Mars, until I have to wipe my forehead. I pretend I'm Tina Turner, who has not forgotten how to dance. In fact, sometimes I put on a pair of my 3-inch heels that I wear to work every day because I feel obligated to appear to be glamorous, which is probably one reason Carl likes to sit in the leather recliner, lean way back, and just watch me swirl. I feel pretty and sexy and 40. He just nods his head up and down like he's agreeing, pops his fingers until the smile on his luscious lips begins to disappear, which is when he holds up his index finger, suggesting that I give him a minute, but don't stop dancing, and he slowly pushes himself up to a standing position and tiptoes down the hallway to take one of his little blue pills. Oh, heck. Here I go again, meandering. I'm just going to have to stop apologizing for it because from what I've learned reading my AARP newsletter, this is only the beginning. But truth be told, forgetting what I was talking about and going off on tangents isn't completely new to me. Back in the day, when I was in my 20s, I smoked a lot of reefer with my friends, and we'd all sit around in a circle on the floor on giant pillows having deep conversations about the real purpose of life or something having to do with God and the universe and how we were going to change the world. But then we'd all stop talking because we were suddenly mesmerized from staring at the lava lamp until somebody realized they were one step away from freaking out and would sometimes even slap themselves and jump up to a standing position in order to snap out of it. And then ask, what the F were we just talking about again? And since not one of us had a clue, we just start passing the, I can say joint, until the next philosophical inquiry would overtake our minds. So now that I'm a certified senior citizen, I go wherever my mind calls me. And when I can't remember, I figure it must not have been that important anyway. When I do remember, it feels like an accomplishment. Like right now, I was talking about my Bill birthday party last year. First of all, my feelings were hurt because my 2 sisters and my one and only daughter, Jalecia, were no-shows. The daughter who hasn't spoken to me in almost a year for reasons I don't feel like getting into right now. Well, suffice it to say, stealing from your own mother who gave you a job was apparently payback for my not having been generous enough since at almost 40, she still has not been able to figure out what to do with her life, which might be my fault. But you can't make your kids listen if they choose to be deaf. All I can say is thank God for sons, or I should say son, since I only have one. Jackson had a good reason for not coming to my party. He lives in Hong Kong, and his wife, Aiko, had just given birth to twin daughters. And then there's Myrna, my younger sister by 13 months, who owed and still owes me a lot of money after I stopped her house from being foreclosed. It's always some bill she can't pay, but it's because she's a shopaholic and somewhat of a hoarder, which is why she never invites anybody over without a week's notice to give herself enough time to hide some of the cheap stuff she buys that she can't live without. On one hand, I feel sorry for her because she doesn't think I know what she does with her money, but I also am a little peeved because she's smart enough to know what she's doing since she's some kind of mid-level executive at a record company. But Myrna did send flowers and said she had to, she had to go out of town on business. She lies more than she tells the truth, which is why I wasn't shocked when one of my BFFs told me she spotted her in the lingerie section at Ross an hour before the party started. Sadie said she hid over in housework. Odessa is my fraternal twin. But there are 2 things about us that make us special. We were born in different years. I came out December 31st, her January 1st. We are also half-sisters. Apparently, Mom was a hot number back then and slept with 2 different fellas in their days, which is how and why Odessa and I do not share the same DNA. This can happen. This probably also explains why we are nothing alike and why we're not as chummy as identicals. Ma also didn't bother to tell us this until we were like in a junior high. But by then, we didn't really care who our daddies were. In fact, Odessa still resents me for being crowned the first black homecoming queen at our predominantly white high school a mere 50 years ago, even though I wasn't pretty then and I'm not pretty now. I admit I know how to make myself appear to be more attractive than I am, and occasionally still get honked at, but no matter how nice I might look, Odessa has never given me a compliment. And right after her husband left her for a 43-year-old ex-Lakers cheerleader who could still do the splits, Odessa started going to church like some people go to AA. Her personality changed after the Holy Ghost struggle. She started acting like she would get electrocuted from a mere whiff of alcohol. She always was a drama queen, unlike myself. And she doesn't seem to know how unhappy she really is, or that maybe God intentionally leaves some spots, some gaps for us to fill in ourselves. She won't go inside any establishment where liquor is poured. But before she retired as a policewoman, she lived in bars and just sat around waiting to arrest somebody. That's the reason why to this day we serve liquor at most all of our family functions. As my granddaughter would say, she's such a Debbie Downer. And then there's Jewel, one of my longest friends, who was MIA and had stopped speaking to me after I called her a skank, because she had not an ounce of shame when she told me she'd been sleeping with Horace, who was married to someone she used to work with. Word on the street was he did not leave his wife, and now she's just a bored, retired high school principal who does not suffer from an ounce of guilt or believes in karma, and she is never wrong about anything. Jewel, who just so happens to be white but seems to identify with being black, also likes to raise her voice, and the last thing she said to me was, "You can be such a self-righteous bitch. You should just change your name to Mary and call me when you learn how to stop judging." Click. And we have not spoken since. I miss her, but it's hard to be around someone you used to like when they don't live by a moral code. We've been doing this for centuries, but this is the longest Jewel has gone without hearing each other's voices. I don't even know why, but I still love her. But the rest of my BFFs were there, all of whom I grew up with. And occasionally we do get on each other's nerves to the point that sometimes our friendship has been temporarily annulled. But more often than not, we always come running back to each other because we have loved each other longer than some of our love for men has lasted. This morning, right after I felt Carl kissing me on the forehead and he knew I was awake, even though my eyes were closed, he said, "So, we're good then?" I smiled, looked up at him, and then tugged at the metal button on his overall pocket and said, "When was the last time I slept in on a weekday, huh?" "Good. Just wait until you see how much fun you're gonna have for taking orders from your husband." I gave him an "aw shucks, but get out of here before I change my mind" look. "Shove. Hold on," he said, standing by the door. "What did you want for your birthday again?" I let out a long sigh. "Some skinny jeans." "You got it, girl. Stay put, and I'll see you when I see you." He limped out the door backwards. Of course I never sleep in, but Carl pleaded with me to take the weekend off. I gave in and closed the Pasadena store by putting a sign on the door that said, "Water damage, will reopen on Monday." But you have to have a legitimate reason to close a beauty supply store. And since I can't really trust the two young ladies who work for me, and their days are numbered, I paid them and told them I was having some plumbing work done. They pretended to care. This already feels weird because it's daylight and I'm still enjoying being under the covers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are you bored? No. You wouldn't tell me anyway. Wait a minute. I don't like to close except for when I'm sick, which is not often. I make most of my money on weekends and any holiday, which is just an excuse folks use to buy more beauty products they probably don't even need. It used to be mostly young women who spent a ton of money at the House of Beauty and Glamour, but now it's seasoned women and a lot of men My goal is to help them fulfill their desires to look and feel beautiful. This is precisely why whenever I leave the house, except for when I walk with B.B. King, I always try to make sure I look like I'm headed somewhere important instead of like I just finished cleaning. My mother raised us this way. The only place you should look bad is at home. And if you look good, you will feel good. And plus, folks are always asking me what I used to do do for a living, since it's obvious I look like I'm on Social Security. And when I tell them I sell beauty, and I leave off products, since it's the truth, a lot of them act like they don't believe me. I do have my share of new wrinkles, which I prefer to call beauty marks, all of which I've earned. Some of them are hard to see since I'm dark brown, but I also use a good concealer to smooth them out. I know they're there. And although my real hair color is boring mixed gray, I dye what I like to call sexy silver, mostly for the contrast. And occasionally I will get those individual lashes just to add a little extra drama. And for the record, I wouldn't be caught dead wearing anything but red lipstick. Sorry. Right. Sorry, just a minute. I'm sorry. Oh, just 1 second. When I see, before I take my shower, I feed B.B. King, then pour myself a bowl of granola that tastes like straw with a cup of tasteless almond milk I got at Whole Foods, where I had recently started shopping to impress my doctor. After I devour my life-changing breakfast B.B. King brings me his leash, and because I have a lot of things to do today, I decide to take him on a short walk. As soon as he realizes we're not heading toward the dog park, he tries to pull me in that direction because I suppose he wants to see his new girlfriend, but I don't give in. When I see a mother coming towards us, pushing her daughter in a stroller and tugging at a string of balloons, it dawns on me that Carl had the last 5 of my birthday parties videotaped. After we get home, I look under the cabinet below the giant TV and sift through a stack of DVDs until I see the one that says Loretha's 67th birthday bash. Of course, I've forgotten how to use the DVD player since they're pretty much obsolete, much like I'm starting to feel. But I figure it out, finish my bottle of water in one gulp, kick off my sneakers, flip down on the sofa and press play. First, B.B. King and I watched the senior citizen version of Soul Train Revisited. While I hear them snoring, I lean back and listen to the touching toast my girlfriends made, even though I remember them sounding more like testimonials from some of those old Oprah Winfrey shows. Here's hoping you don't have any reason to go to the hospital to visit anybody or be admitted. This is not the kind of stuff you say to someone in their 60s to say he meant well. She is an attractive spinster who loves visiting sick people, especially if they're still in the hospital. And she doesn't miss a funeral, even if she doesn't know who the deceased is. Maybe she missed her calling because I think Sadie feels like she's on stage the way she presses a palm against her flat chest when she reacts to the names. When she reads the names of the sick and shut in along with those who recently passed on the church bulletin. Why didn't you cry, she asked me once. And I told her because it's hard to cry for strangers. I have not been back since, and she went and joined the choir and brags about her solos, which I heard are always off key. And it's mostly relatives who yell out, "Praise the Lord, Sister Sadie." I hate to admit it, but instead of going to church, I go to movie matinees, mostly for the senior citizen discount. It's not that I'm not religious, I just feel like I've heard it all before. No offense. I don't feel this way. I don't give it up. I just feel like I've heard it all before. We grew up going to Sunday school, and I do try to live a Christian life. Even though I know I can sometimes be opinionated every once in a while, prone to harmless gossip, and in all honesty, occasionally a flat-out bitch. For tune-ups, I watch church on TV, which I can attend in my PJs. Or sometimes I record it to watch while having dinner with my husband. I think Sadie is lonely. She'd never been married and never seemed to care. Do you think you might be a lesbian? I asked her about 20 years ago when she was still attractive. She got mad for me not even asking, and I told her to slow her roll. And I get so worked up because every lesbian I've ever met was happy to be a lesbian. But what's sad is I don't believe Sadie's ever even had sex. She has no idea how much pleasure she's missed. And she strikes me as the type, never mind, I'm not reading that. Away from my feet, cross my legs, and lean forward when I see Corinthia's tall, slender frame. Here's hoping you consider hiring us two seasoned women, she points to Peggy, in your Pasadena shop, and not those two in LA because we are not getting on the 10 freeway, period. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, you should be willing to hire some seasoned women to work part-time for a few dollars over minimum wage, since we just bored and don't need the money, unlike those young hot hoochies who spend more time crimping in the mirror than helping a loyal find a decent mixed gray synthetic ponytail or the best scalp treatment for thinning hair or a hairnet that won't slip off in the middle of the night. I don't want to even waste any more time, but if I did, I'd also say, excuse me, they don't have a clue when it comes to what kind of makeup covers puffiness under your eyes. Okay, Corinthia can and will. If you don't cut her off, talk you to death. She is a spokesman who represents this two-woman posse, herself and Peggy. Corinthia is a beautiful giant. She's 6'1". She's the only one out of all of us who still has her college weight, even though she rejected college. She was too impatient, and 4 years is just too long, she said. To go to college, you still don't make no money. So even though she didn't drink and was afraid of drugs, for most of her entire adult life, Corinthia worked at speakeasies and waitress at 24-hour restaurants. She bragged, you know what? I get paid in cash. But she never realized that one day she might need Social Security. Peggy only stepped foot inside of college for one semester because she went and married a stereotype. One of those rich Middle Eastern guys who convinced her he was her college degree. And like a fool, Peggy let him run her life. So she spent her unlimited free time decorating their big house, which was a mistake because she can combine so many motifs that you got a headache if you were there more than half an hour. She also had a son and a daughter who were both some kind of medical doctors, and they pretend that they're not black. Peggy pretended not to notice. And after they left home is when Peggy decided she wanted to look like Diana Ross and started wearing a weave that goes all the way down to the middle of her back, and she started turning plastic surgery into a hobby. The fox or no fox, her husband divorced her because he said she was boring. She still is boring. But Peggy has yet to find her purpose. Not that I have. B.B. King lets out a stinky fart and I start fanning the air with both hands, but it doesn't cut it, so I open the front door and let him out. I go back to the video, and next up is Lucky. Here's hoping you trade in that ugly Volvo. Lucky has always been a confused elitist. She used to be a costumer for game shows and some TV commercials, and had very good fashion sense. When she talks, she thinks that the kind of car you drive and your zip code define you. They do not. Hold on a minute. I forgot, she says. Here's hoping you finally hit your healthy weight by this time next year. She had a lot of nerve. She who still loves to wear tight white anything, and she should just not because Lucky stuck in a time warp and still thinks she's a size 14 when she knows good and well she's probably closer to a 1X. You cannot tell her that she does not look good. She loves getting attention and does anything to get it, Now, almost done. That I'm heavier than I should be. And according to Dr. Alexopoulos, my cholesterol should be lower, and she claims I'm a borderline diabetic. And that in order to get to a healthy weight, it would be in my best interest if I lost about 30, preferably 40 pounds. which I thought was ridiculous. I'm big boned, I told her. And I'm black. We have big hips and it's genetic. She didn't buy it. You want to prevent future health problems, Mrs. Curry? It's also never too late to cut back on fat, carbohydrates, and sugar, and to perhaps consider exercising. I don't like anybody telling me what to do. So I told her I eat as light as I can and walk my dog every day. But she said that this did not qualify as a good cardiovascular workout. And I don't like her. But I've just been trying to get up the nerve to fire her. But if you can fire a doctor. This, of course, was last year, and I have been so busy. I haven't been back to see her, and I haven't had time to incorporate exercise into my daily routine. I also don't like gyms because most of the people in there are already in good shape. They make me feel bad. The doctor also suggested I get the treadmill or spinning a try, and I wanted to tell her she should consider getting a makeover. With that very blonde see-through hair, she looks like Grandpa from the Munsters. But in my attempt at being honest, I went ahead and pleaded guilty to being lazy and promised myself I would start cutting back or cut out one by one. Candy corn, Twizzlers, Baskin Robbins quarterback crunch ice cream, blueberry muffins, and the occasional small bag of barbecue potato chips. Starting next year. Last month. Here's hoping you give our cruise to nowhere another chance, Laretha. It's been 3 years and we want you back. Right, ladies? And all the ladies except me screamed out a yes. Poochie has been old longer than the rest of us. She could not have kids, which is probably why she was a special needs nurse, although she mothers anybody who needs mothering. If you hurt, she will rub your back, rock you back and forth, and squeeze you until you fall asleep. After her husband of 40 years died of renal failure, Poochie gave up on ever finding love again. You just make yourself forget how good it felt. But then what she still loves is water and boats, which is why she became the cruise organizer. I don't like floating, and I'm not crazy about waves, because I almost drowned when I was 9, and I prefer traveling by land or air. But since everybody in our posse was going and Poochie promised I wouldn't even have to get wet, I huffed and puffed and said, okay. It was one cruise too many. I did not have fun. I didn't understand the entertainment because it was always a singer who you never heard of, who sparkled in sequin evening gowns or shimmered in white fringe, or did the Temptation walk in tight tuxedos with buttons that looked like they were begging for another 2 inches, or a group who sang or pantomime songs from yesteryear. And I never heard anybody shrieking in the casino because they hit a jackpot, including me. The shrieking was mostly from folks pounding on the slot machines because they hadn't won a dime. What gave me the heebie-jeebies more than anything was you couldn't get off the ship because it wasn't going anywhere except out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And truth be told, I didn't like being out there with a bunch of old people. They never wanted to come to shore.
Come on, Sacramento, we can do that. Terry says she takes a couple questions from the audience. Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. Tell us your name and your question.
Thank you, everybody.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gray, we met earlier, and I'm here with members of our Black Women Right Group, and I just wanted to recognize them if you guys can stand. I don't have a question, but I wanted to say thank you. On behalf of all of the Black women who were part of our group, Black Women Tell Tales, You inspire us
Yes.
because of what you do. And like I said to you earlier, your first novel changed my life. And it's through that novel that I realized that I too could be a writer. And it's inspired me to this day. And so I just want to say thank you for coming to Sacramento, and thank you for inspiring all of us to keep writing.
Yes, sir. Tell us your name and your question.
Timothy Malone. I wanted to find out if you've written or going to write an autobiography.
No, why would I say that? My life is not that interesting, that's why I make stuff up. No. Plus, I don't want to be putting all my personal business out there.
Do we have anybody up top? Yes. Go ahead, tell us your name, either one of
This
you.
light is in my,
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm gonna, oops, wait. I'm just gonna move over here. Well, I don't just read one writer. I read everybody and everything. I'm reading, well, I'll put it this way. Sometimes I read more than one book at a time. I read poetry. I love poetry. I read nonfiction. I read writers from all over the world. Because I'm more interested in how all of us feel and think, and I realize that geography has nothing to do with it. But I try to support all Black writers in particular. I buy their works even if I can't read them or even if I don't like them. I still buy them to support us. But I read a lot of fiction and a lot of philosophy, believe it or not. And I read a lot of spiritual writing. I do. I subscribe to the best spiritual writing every year because it inspires me. But I read poetry a lot. Right now, what am I reading? I just finished American Marriage by P.R. Jones, which is really good. Celeste Ng. What else am I reading? I read a lot, okay? I have, it's a little embarrassing. I spend a lot of money on books, I'll put it this way. And some people come over at my house and they ask me, Terry, have you read all these books? And I said, no. That's what a library is. A library is not exhausted. They're books that I know that if I can, it's like being in a library. I can pick and choose to read anything I want to on any particular day and based on my mood. And I do. I have an amazing library. I have thousands of books. And all kinds of writers. And even if I don't finish a book, sometimes I just read to be encouraged, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, because I respect words and how people put them together. Because a book can change your life, as I've heard, but a book can change your life, that's all. Anybody ever heard of J. Krishnamurti? Yes. I'll put it this way. There is not a day that goes by that I don't read something. You know, I can be sick. I'm going to read something. I can't help myself. That answer the question?
All right, we're going to do two more. Go ahead up top. Yes.
Where would you say that you get your inspiration for your characters in your books?
I'll put it this way. One of the things that we do as writers is, or I can speak for myself, but most of us, we strive for perfection. If I had my brothers, everybody would be happy. Everybody would be in love. There would be no poor people. There would be no racism. You know, we would treat each other with respect. We would be humble. And the world would be a very peaceful place. Well, unfortunately, it isn't. And so, also I think that I wish that we could all be happy. And so I choose to write about people who are not. And sometimes it is because we are responsible for our own unhappiness, but sometimes we aren't. Sometimes we are victims. And I write about the bumps in our lives. But I believe, and I consider my work to be tragic comedy, because we aren't even, we aren't blue 24 hours a day. But I'm more interested in the journey, because that's one of the reasons why I'm writing about aging now. Last year my younger sister died very tragically. And I'm the oldest of 5. And it really messed me up. And also, a lot of people in my life are leaving. And it has made me really think about how responsible we are for our own lives and the quality of it. And how much we do to ourselves, how little respect we have for I might have to stop talking because I should have mentioned my sister.
That's okay.
But I think that
I love Cousin Robbie.
what'd you say?
I love Cousin Robbie.
Who is that? Is that Wanda?
Who's Cousin Robbie?
Yeah.
Cousin Robbie.
Her cousin is my sister. But I'll put it this way.
I can cheer you up.
I'll put it this way. There are a lot of different ways to live.
All right.
And I believe that if we don't look inward, it has a lot to do with what happens on the outside.
All right, now.
And we are responsible for a lot more
Yes.
than we think we are. And if what you do today affects your tomorrow, and as you start to get older, you start really thinking about, because I'm losing a lot of friends. I'm losing a lot of family members who shouldn't be gone. And so, writing is an inquiry. It's not pointing a finger. It's not judging. It's trying to understand why we do what we do and how many of us accept responsibility for what happens to us and how many of us don't. And what happens when you don't. Because, I'm 66 years old. I love that Social Security check, even though I don't need it. But the bottom line is that, there's a lot that we can do for ourselves, for each other, and I take breathing very seriously. And I haven't had a drink in 35 years. I don't smoke cigarettes. I haven't had a joint or smoked any marijuana in about 40 because I never liked it anyway. And I try to exercise because my mother died when she was 59 years old, 25 years ago. And there are just too many people that I love and have loved that are gone. And I have friends now who would have been here today, but they're sick.
And I just want all of us to give everything we do, everything we've got. And that's why I write.